Hey everyone, welcome back. So, in this session, we're going to talk about coding with ChatGPT. Now, while coding can seem daunting at first, the advent of natural language processing and advanced machine learning has made it more accessible than ever before. And with ChatGPT, which is a large language model trained by OpenAI, even if you're a beginner that has never coded a single day in your life, you can now actually learn coding through a more conversational and intuitive approach. Now, ChatGPT can help you get started with coding by offering a more personalized and interactive experience. You can ask ChatGPT for coding helps, code snippets, or even an entire program example in a variety of programming languages. You can also use ChatGPT to improve your current coding skills by asking it how it can explain a particular piece of code or how it can optimize a piece of code so that it's even more better performing. Now, whether you're a beginner or an advanced or an experienced programmer, ChatGPT can be an invaluable tool for you in your coding journey. It can help you overcome some coding challenges, help you save up time, provide inspiration for new projects, and even accelerate your learning curve. So let's actually give ChatGPT a try and let's see what ChatGPT can do for us. The very first thing that you can do with ChatGPT is code completion. So you could write a prompt which is somewhat like this. Write a Python function that takes in a list of integers and returns the same as the sum of the first n numbers. So when you run that, it'll actually give you an example of what functions you can use and give you a final answer for the same thing. Notice how that other than giving you a function, which is basically a solution, it gives you an explanation for your solution as well, and also a example usage of the same thing. So that was basically how it actually completes codes for you and writes codes that actually gives you your particular result. So that's the first thing, which is basically code completion. At the same time, code generation is also something that you can do with ChatGPT. Maybe writing something like write a Python program that prints, let's say, the first 100 prime numbers. So let's write something like that. Write a Python program that prints out the first 100 prime numbers. And let's run that. So here's one way to write the program that prints out the first 100 prime numbers is prime. If n is less than equal to 1, return false. And then for I in the range of some parameters, if the n mod value of I equals to 0, return false, else return true. Count is equal to 0, so on and so forth. And at the same time, we also have a description of our code stating that in this program, we first define a helper function is prime that takes an integer n and returns true if n is prime and false otherwise. This function works by checking if n is less than or equal to 1, so on and so forth, thus giving you a final output. If you want, let's try the code out and see what the result gives us. I'm going to copy this code and paste it into something known as PyCharm. Don't worry about it if you've never coded before, that's completely all right. This is a software that we use to actually run a Python program. So let me just paste the code here. And now let's run this code to see what kind of results do we get in here. So let's run it. And there we have it. We have the answer to our question, which is the first 100 prime numbers being printed out. So this is another way that we can actually make use of ChatGPT. The other way that you can actually make use of ChatGPT is in code translation. Now, let's say, for example, you have a code which is in Python and you want to convert it to JavaScript. So you could just say, write a code, or rather, translate the below code from Python to JavaScript. And I'm just going to paste a piece of code down here which defines a Fibonacci series. And let's see the result. Here's the JavaScript equivalent of the Python code you provided. And notice how it actually very simply just converted a program which was written in one programming language to another. At the same time, it also gives you a sort of description and how you can call the function by simply providing an argument n and so on. That's the third thing you can do with ChatGPT, which is code translation. translating a code from one programming language to another saves you a lot of time when you are trying to switch from one programming language to another. At the same time, if you wish, you can also use ChatGPT to get an explanation of a code. Like, for example, explain the following Python code and paste this down over here. This is another code which has a tiny little list in there. So it's going to tell you the Python code creates a new list called new list using a list comprehension technique. Here's a breakdown of what each line of code does. This line does the job of creating a list of integers. This line does the job of calling something called list comprehension and defines what the list comprehension does over you. And then this one tells you that, okay, this line will print the output to the console. Thus, in this case, the output of the program will be 4, 8, since those are the only even numbers in the list and their double values are added to the new list. So explanation of codes is also something that you can do with ChatGPT. Another thing is code optimization. If you would like ChatGPT to take a particular piece of code and make it more optimized, you can do that as well. So you could say optimize this Python code to run faster and just paste your code down. I'm going to paste the same factorial code in here. And the current implementation is a recursive function that calculates the factorial of n. One way to optimize it is to write this particular code rather than using the code that you have provided. So that's code optimization. You can also perform code debugging and refactoring if you wish in Python. Let's have a look at an example of that. Like, for example, I would tell ChatGPT to find and fix the error in this particular Python code. Now, if I don't know that there is an error in my code, or if when I run this code, there is some kind of error that happens, but I'm unable to figure out what it is, I can have ChatGPT do it for me. And it can actually tell me that in this code, the error is the add number function. And it'll actually give you a corrected version of the code as well, which is another thing that is pretty neat and clean if you think about it. Another thing is refactoring the code. So you can also have Python refactor a code to make it more readable and efficient. Like, for example, I have a little piece of code over here, which is written pretty dirtily, I would say. So I can actually have ChatGPT refactor this particular code, make it more readable so that it's more efficient as well. So let's see what ChatGPT has to say for this as well. The original code is a correct implementation of the fizzbuzz problem. However, we can refactor it to make it more readable and efficient by writing it somewhat like this. And that is a pretty neat code. If you look at our code looks pretty nasty and there looks like there are a lot of conditions that we have used over here and so on and so forth. But the code becomes much more readable and more elegant when you look at it in this form. And here is the refactored code with some additional changes. It also suggested another way to make the code more readable and give you a better result. So these are some of the ways in which you can actually make use of ChatGPT in your coding journey and fasten the process of learning and reduce the amount of time that you need to actually pick up and master a language. So that was coding with ChatGPT. I will see you in the next session. Until then, stay safe, take care, bye-bye.